Hello and welcome to Kikao, your weekly focus on Africa's agriculture. My name is Joe Agayo. This week we answer that big question. Is there a connection between global pandemics and conflicts in distant lands on the one hand and the prices of food in the store or market near you? Let's now join Dr. Canisius Kanangire, the Executive Director of AATF, as he engages his panel on our topic for the week.
The prices of basic commodity across Africa and the world have skyrocketed in recent times. There have been many theories seeking to explain these trends, ranging from political events to global happenings such as COVID-19 pandemic, the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and drought. In this episode of Kikao, we will highlight these recent trends, their drivers, and the impact they are likely to have on food production, trade, and access in Africa. We will particularly focus on understanding how these global crises that are unfolding thousands of miles away are impacting rural villages on the African continent. Further, we will examine some actions that can be undertaken to deal with the challenge in both the short and long run. I'm Dr. Canisius Kanangire, the Executive Director, AATF, and on the program this week, I'm hosting Ambassador Carla Mukavi, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, Kenya Country Representative, and Dr. Joy Kiru from the Department of Economics, the University of Nairobi, Kenya. You are welcome.
Thank you.
What would you say are the challenges people are facing on the African continent with the current rise of prices of basic commodities like food and fuel?
First and foremost, of course, is the erosion of incomes. People are watching every day as their normal incomes are buying less and less than they used to buy before. And that means that you are talking about reduced incomes. We are likely to see increases in poverty. We are likely to see increases in starvation or inadequate food for people. And of course, if it's not checked, then if we follow that trend, then you're likely to see also impacts on health if the situation is not checked enough. And of course, if we still don't check it enough and we continue like this, citizens will be angry. We'll be staring at civil unrest, especially in the context of political happenings in some countries.
That's true. Actually, the soaring of food prices and fuel is really impacting on food security and nutrition. Coming from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the last actually report, which we call the Global Report on Food Crisis, is already indicating that globally we're talking about 192 million of people that are really food insecure. Why are they food insecure? Even before really the war in Ukraine, this number was also there. So of course we are really working at the statistics, and surely it will increase. And this is because again, about climate change, the impact of climate change. We see really prolonged drought, intense floods. In Kenya, where we are, actually, we just concluded, or we just controlled the invasion of the desert locust. Yeah. That really impacted again, on the communities, particularly in northern East Kenya, and this again really impacting on food and nutrition security of the communities.
How can you explain the rise of those prices today? Because in the last few months, we have seen indeed the prices skyrocketing.
What we see now is really a combination of factors, but really mainly the war in Ukraine that has really contributed to the disruption of the food supplies. Unfortunately, that's the reality. The world is global. We live in a globalized world we are so interconnected. So what happened really, even if we think that is really far away from us, it really impacts us, impact on us. So to say that, of course, the disruption of food supply, it means that, of course, the food that we're really importing, because we have to take into consideration that both Ukraine and Russia are really very important suppliers of grains, of oil, of fertilizers that we in this continent are importing. So, of course, with this disruption of food supplies, with the restrictions of grains, of really cereals and oil, which means that is there are restrictions, they are limited, of course, possibilities of buying it, and then the food, of course, the prices increases.
What can you say are the specific impacts that this rise of price are having on the ordinary citizen of this continent?
Hunger.
Hunger. Exacerbating hunger, because she
hunger,
said
yes.
there was already hunger.
Yes.
Please continue.
The common thing, it has gone up by almost, some of them is more than 20, but when you looked at the average, it was about 18% within such a short time. That is quite an increase. Hunger
is increasing. And malnutrition for sure.
Hunger, malnutrition, and of course deepened poverty. You know, we really have serious problems of access to food and particularly affordability. Because of course the communities will not have those resources, the income, to be able, of course, really to access and to buy food. So actually at the end of the day we'll see, food insecurity deepening, in malnutrition, which is already acute. We are talking, for instance, in the world about 92, of course, thousand of kids under the age of 5 that are really malnourished. But there is another phenomenon that we really already see, particularly in the urban settings, which is obesity. People are not really eating healthy food because, of course, they don't have access, because it's expensive. It's going to be even more expensive. So you will go for fast food, non-nutritious food, so which means that you have, of course, to see obesity also increasing, which has a big impact, of course, on health conditions.
On the health conditions. I want to suggest that we have a break, and after the break, we will go to details of that interconnection of the world on this bad situation. How that war, which comes very far there, can have a so bad impact on a villager somewhere in Kenya, in Mozambique, or in Rwanda. Welcome to the Kikao session. The pandemic came and had very drastic consequences, impact on the food supply in Africa. The war in Russia-Ukraine comes, and again, consequences on Africa. Tell me, what can we learn from these phenomena, which sometimes happen miles away, but which have impact on our populations?
For the past 10 years, there's something we've been pursuing in the world: globalization, interconnectedness, trade, and all that. That means that there's this interconnectedness, which is good, but also there are the risks. And that means that now, when there's a shock in a faraway continent, because of this being interconnected, it affects people. What have we learned from that? I think one of the lessons we can take away is that there's space for all this interconnectedness. There's also space for diversification. In terms of, you're going to diversify
at local level.
At the local level, not because you have a competitive advantage, but as a strategy to cushion ourselves against external shocks. Meaning that as governments, you're going to try as much as we can to ensure that we still have the capacities, the abilities to be able to produce at least more than 3/4 of our food needs domestically, if we can. And that is possible, especially in Africa, if we can strengthen and focus on our agricultural systems and focus on the people in terms of improving their ability to produce and to store and also incentives to make that possible, I think is the best strategy that we can do.
We need to start producing some of these crops and these commodities that we import from outside, so that if it is disrupted, at least we have 2/3 she talked about. Tell me, does that change all the policies and strategies in the agricultural sector?
The reality is that really as the continent and in the region, we have to invest in agriculture. I should say that really Africa is so blessed with the land, with water, with sun. So therefore, what we really need is to invest in production and productivity. We need to increase production and productivity. And what does it mean? What does it require? It requires really investing. We have the Maputo Declaration, where heads of states of this continent, again, they really agree really to allocate 10% of their GDP into agriculture. But you know, when you look around, very few countries have reached that target. So if we are not investing, we cannot really harness that potential that we have. That giant, because the others, they say that it's the giant that is sleeping in Africa, and we are not really investing in order to harness, to feed our people, and of course even to feed the world. Africa has that potential. So again, I really go back to the Food System Summit in Kenya. There were really very engaging and consultative national dialogues that came up with a very strong pathways, you know, that is really showing that let's build the resilience of the farmers so that they can resist to shocks with programs such as the Climate Smart Agriculture and others. Let's really invest in digitalization. Here we have to bring research. Dr. Joy is here, is really coming from the university. Research is really very important.
Very important.
Improve the seeds that can really, of course, resist again to the shocks and climate change. Talk about technology, talk about science, talk about data, so that we can really focus also really our approaches. And of course, the opportunities again of agriculture. Invest on women that are really the backbone of agriculture. There are so many reports. Actually, FAO is a knowledge-based organization. And we have realized that, you know, if you really invest, if the women were given really the same amount of inputs, resources, and opportunities, such as men, the production and productivity would even increase on something like 20%, which is really high. And then, of course, the opportunities that you really find in agriculture, also for young people. When you really bring the science, the technologies, innovation, which is so critical, you know, from production to consumption. We talk about really processing, transportations. So there is so much that we can really harness if we really invest in agriculture. We can no longer continue depending on the rain fed. We really have to look at, you know, the irrigation schemes. So those are the things that we have really to do, and they are doable. And I should say that if we do it, we'll see that transformation that we're really aiming at.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I think here we have gotten like a whole strategy to transform agriculture. What Ambassador is saying is exactly what was aimed by our top leaders when they say we need to transform agriculture, and that is in the declaration she talked about, Maputo, but also repeated in a certain way in Malabo. And here, one of the key challenges that we have is to implement the policies, to implement the strategies the way they are developed, to walk the talk and implement the commitment our leaders have taken at continental level. Even at country level, it happens. Let's take a break, and when we come, we will dwell in what exactly we need to do. What are those changes? What are those actions that we need to take so that we can reduce the impact those global phenomena can have on our citizens on the African continent, and wake up that giant. Wake up that giant so that we can feed ourselves and feed the world.
trust Sunlight 2-in-1 washing powder to give my clothes a sensational clean and an uplifting fragrance. Sunlight. More than you expect.
Panda tukupandishe on Go Entertainment this new year on GoTV. Bila kulipia extra. Kama uko on GoTV Lite, lipia GoTV Value. Utapata kufurahia GoTV Plus. Tayari on GoTV Value, then lipia GoTV Plus uenjoy GoTV Max. Kama wewe ni wa GoTV Plus, lipia GoTV Max nice na shows noma kabisa on GoTV Super. Furahia the best sports, international shows na local shows una like free. Download GoTV Stream. GoTV. Love it.
Stand a chance to win a trip for 2 to Diani, or a dinner for 4, or a year's freshness package with a new Nivea Fresh Deo. It's easy. Just buy any Nivea Fresh Deo, submit the receipt on WhatsApp to 0712 044 544 and enjoy exciting prices. Terms and conditions apply.
The moment I feel my pain starting to fade, it's like I'm going back to myself on a really good day.
Panadol Extra releases you from strong pain. Panadol, release starts here.
Nimeget airtime.
Airtel Money inakuokolea.
Really?
Yes.
Aje?
Ukiwithdraw chapa kwa Airtel Money agent, inakurudishia hiyo transaction fee kama airtime.
Auntie.
Karibu.
Shosho. Chiko! Nipotea.
Angalia hapo kwa buchari kanjia kako hapo.
Oh! Shosho!
Airtel Money makes your life kidogo better.
There's a kind of bank assurance intermediary that really allows you to relax because you know you'll be good. That's Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary for you. Get covered real good through Coop Bank Assurance Intermediary.
What's up, One Republicans? What it is, what it do, what it does. On this week's episode on Teen Republic, we have a super jam-packed show for you guys. To all dancehall lovers, tunawaletea, that is Bad Hit Maker Blaze Fire.
Ready for burn up warning, some boy splinter. Big up bad gal in a real life, nothing that.
And our very own Kenyan Anko Jing Jong. Kama kawaida, music policy will be courtesy of DJ Rickmo, the Afro King. And all the energy will be courtesy of Fanta.
Teen Republic, in association with Fanta.
For the tangiest of tangs. Succumb to the flavor frenzy. Fanta. Indulge with a sip and snack.
This week on Cars with Big Boy Trev, we engage with Kenya's latest vehicle brand, Changan Auto, powered by Inchcape Kenya. We analyze their product lineup, plus highlight their brand promise of providing efficient and safe mobility for the Kenyan market. Finally, we review the Ocean Future Sense SUV. We check out its design, technology, performance, safety, and value for money. Catch this and much more on your Cars with Big Boy Trev this Sunday at 5 p.m. only on NTV, in association with Changan Auto, powered by Inchcape Kenya.
Panda tukupandishe on Go Entertainment this new year on GoTV. Bila kulipia extra. Furahia the best sports, international shows na local shows una like free. Download GoTV Stream. GoTV. Love it.
Welcome back to the Kikao session. Ambassador, at the continental level, there is this opening of the continental market. Yeah? If it is implemented, it means I can have my maize from Kenya and go and sell it somewhere in Malawi, in Egypt even, or South to... How do you see that playing that role of creating the incentive to the farmers from wherever, but at the continental level before we cross the border?
No, this is critical and is so powerful. And really the free trade market, it's a big opportunity that again as a continent we should really take advantage of it. And I like and I agree with the Toto that real access to the market, giving the opportunity for farmers to really access the market so that they can really increase their income and of course, meet their needs. It's really very important. As a FAO, actually, most of the programs that we implement in Kenya is we have this component that we have really to link the farmers to the market. We are losing, of course, almost 12% globally of the food that we produce, food waste and really food loss. And we see the investment, the effort and the resources that we are really putting to produce the food that at the end of the day we lose it because of lack of really access to the market. So we have to invest on that, and I couldn't agree more with you, Edie, that really the free trade agreement that we have signed is an opportunity that we really have to take advantage of it, see how we interconnect, how we exchange, what are really the needs, and of course provide the incentives to the farmer.
Where do you see agriculture, food security, food production, and the economic development of our population through improved agriculture? Where do you see our continent in terms of resilience, in terms of economic development in the next 10, 20 years?
The truth is a lot of promise in terms of there's a lot of potential in agriculture. But let us be realistic on what we are dealing with now so that we can look at how we want it to be and how we can do it. We are looking at a situation whereby agriculture, most of the food system in Africa is produced through the subsistence way, whereby farmers, just small-scale farmers with who are poor farmers producing for the majority of the people. They're using technology which is outdated. It's not because they don't want to adopt technology. It's not because they don't receive those messages on their phones about what is selling where. But the truth is, they are incapacitated because of their income levels. And that is where we have to start. Farmers' diversifications in terms of livelihood and building resilience in that. Because unless a farmer has got something to spare, it's only when they can wait until the prices are better for them to sell so that they can improve their income through agriculture. But if we can find ways of improving this livelihood, and also again, it's until the farmers got something to share that they can adopt it to even a better farming technology, not just the donkeys doing the farming and pulling the plows and things like that. Until they have got some money to spare, can they really invest in technology and invest in all this? Improving livelihoods and building resilience in livelihoods, improving income levels at the basic. That can really help in terms of improving agriculture. Yes.
And that can bring us to a better situation than what we are talking about.
Yes.
Do you have some ideas, Ambassador?
I would say that what we are really seeing with the soaring of food prices and fuel and really impacting on our population, in our communities, particularly on farmers, that really they become more and more vulnerable, is a wake-up call. A wake-up call to really invest, to provide those necessary really incentives, whenever necessary, even to caution with really social protection policies, safety nets, so that really the farmers, they can really cope with those with this situation. I'm really very optimistic, and we should really be very optimistic. When I talk about, of course, wake-up call, actually, to walk that talk, to implement. We really have all the policies. When I talk about Kenya, really the policies are there. Of course, there is where more are really needed. We need, of course, to upscale what we are already doing. There are so many initiatives, so many projects that we see that are really contributing to that really increase income, and they have been really so impactful in rural areas and so on. Let's really upscale them. Upscaling is really very important. Let's really expand them so that actually more and more people can really benefit. Let's really pass this knowledge to the communities, to the really rural farmers. Training is so crucial so that they can really adopt those best practices in order really to be sustainable in production, sustainable in what they do, resistant to the climate change. So I would say that really the optimism is there. We should not really lose that. What we should do is really continue working together, harness, of course, we didn't talk much about the private sector here, but I should really bring also private sector, open, really create those enabling environments where really partnership can really play a very important role to take us to the next level.
I can not have time to thank you, ladies, Ambassador and Professor. I think it was a very important and useful conversation here, which needs to be continued at other platforms so that we all understand our role and commit to play it fully so that we take Africans to a higher level in terms of sufficiency in the food they take and also in nutrition of their families, their children, who constitute the future of our continent. I thank you very much. Viewers, thank you very much for following our conversation. And I invite you to the next Kikao session. Thank you very much, and goodbye for now.
Now to our science terminology of the week on Science Speak. The terminology for this week is dry cow. Sounds interesting. Well, a dry cow is a lactation stage where milk production in that cow ceases. And this is usually in the last 45 to 90 days of the pregnancy as the cow prepares for the next calving. Now you know. The Russia-Ukraine war, COVID-19 pandemic, or any of the global shocks, they actually matter to you. And that's the understanding we seek to give on Kikao every week. Thank you for watching the show. Until next time, my name is Joe Ageyo.